My name is Pavel. I'm the integrations lead at Metis. I'll be presenting today about the reputation economy. So today, I'll be talking about traditional rating systems, limitations with the current systems, the reputation economy solution, as well as the qualities of the reputation economy. Let's take a look at traditional rating systems. So first is review systems. They are evaluated based on experience. So things like Amazon, Uber, Yelp, any type of review-based systems that collectively has collective opinion. There's also credit rating agencies that are able to view like your either credit scores or able to give financial credit rating reviews. There's employment, so when you apply for a job, you'll be able to have a work and credential history based on, have that evaluated by the interviewer. And finally, insurance, where your own risk history is compared against others as well. So there are these types of reputation systems currently in effect, or rating systems currently in effect. So right now we have some limitations with the current systems. So first limitation is that the rating is often too generic. So having a single number quantify basically all of your experiences oftentimes leads to not enough information. For example, like what goes into, for example, like an Amazon review, or what goes into your credit score. Although there is lots of data that goes in, this leads to the second point of the data used to calculate the rating is oftentimes very restricted. So what this means is that the rating itself is evaluated by these institutions, and they themselves dictate what type of rating that it would show, but you can't actually come in and evaluate and audit it. So what this leads is, the third limitation is the manipulation of current systems. So some examples of manipulation. First is the Amazon reviews. So one of the big targets is for buyers and sellers to come in and essentially review buying, and then to be able to influence purchases of products as well. So there's also rating agencies that collude with banks, essentially leading to, in part, to the financial crisis. So a lot of the rating agencies, I think like the top three colluded with all the big banks in order to misrepresent financial risk in terms of the assets present. So a lot of it was stemmed on that as well, the misrepresentation of data. As well as a study and attestation by CNBC, 78% of job seekers lie during their hiring process. And so this is like a great effect where essentially in order to be ahead of everyone, you have to lie as well. And then everything is misrepresented in terms of the work in the workplace. And then CZ notably said on Twitter that LinkedIn has over 7,000 Binance employees, but only 50 of them are real. So LinkedIn allows you to essentially post whatever type of information that you want. You can be a NASA astronaut, but on LinkedIn it's basically anything goes. So essentially that's another misrepresentation. So the reputation economy solution. Before I get into the reputation economy, let me tell you potential use cases for it. So essentially the first use case is under collateralized loans. So allowing DeFi applications to give loans based on a lending score. Essentially, you have an amount that you want to allocate to a person, and that is based on their current risk profile. Currently, all loans basically are over-collateralized. There's some agencies that deal with reputation specifically for that, giving like loans for this, credit scores for decentralization, but oftentimes they require KYC. But essentially, uncollateralized loans is one example for utilization of the reputation economy. Next is application rating. So essentially, when you use a dApp, you don't really know like what the security mechanisms are. You have to essentially trust that the dApp itself performs its duties. But relying on trust is essentially like a risky thing to do. But given the reputation economy, when people are competitive in nature, you get the best results for that rating, essentially. So decentralized employment. So it allows DAOs to evaluate based on an employment score. Essentially, I can work for a DAO, I can work for any type of industry, and basically just collect that information, essentially that experience as a part of my address, and then have that experience evaluated by specific DAO members as well. So no longer need resumes that can be misrepresented. And then finally, individual insurance. So essentially, you have a risk score. So right now, DeFi insurance basically is protocol specific. So what this means is that since it's protocol specific, the insurance is only based on like each protocol. When reputation economy can be used, it can be more so individually tailored. And finally, dispute resolution. So essentially, you come in and you crowdsource public opinion. And so based on this, you can essentially attest and say that this person did something right or this person did something wrong. Now, we went over the use cases. Let's talk about the actors. So first, it's the activity. The activity is an on-chain action. This can be an NFT badge, interaction with a user, interaction with a smart contract, anything that's located on-chain. Next is the analyst. These are institutions that evaluate activities and provide a reputational score based on a specific category. And finally, the aggregator. So the aggregator basically aggregates scores across different analysts and provides values to the user. So how specifically it works? Let's take an example, I guess, from the audience. Like, raise of hands, who likes vanilla ice cream? Okay, I got a couple. I'm going to choose like 3. The rest of the people that put their hands down, so like once you put your hands down, I'm assuming you like chocolate. So we got 2 people that like vanilla, 1 person that likes chocolate. I mean, obviously there's more people in the room, but if I were to conduct like an accurate assessment, I'd probably go in individually, ask each one of you, these different types of criteria. But basically what I did is I posed a question. I had an on-chain activity, like, boom, you have like ice cream. All right, what are your thoughts about it? So I asked 3 respondents, collected 3 bits of data, and these respondents gave me information, right? 2 vanilla, 1 chocolate. And then I, as the aggregator, collected this data and now am representing it to the end user. So how it specifically works, the activity occurs, the analyst evaluates the activity and result based on a specific criteria, so a specific question, like do you like ice cream? Or like which type of ice cream do you like? And the aggregator takes the data from multiple analysts and produces a weighted score based on its own criteria. So it's a lot of like bias present within the system, but bias is part of the system. This is how the value is attributed. So now let's take a look at the scenario of the end result, the aggregator itself. So there are 3 aggregators in this scenario. Each aggregator can be called by the user and essentially provide data to the user. Given that the aggregators are competing for the user, like if they misrepresent data, if they do anything that would negatively impact the user, and the user can see, like, let's say I take the data and I say like, oh, well, there's more people who like vanilla than they do like chocolate, even though that wasn't the case. The user can come in and just not use it because of the incorrect data. So then the user now has multiple comparisons that they can make. They can take multiple data points from different types of aggregators, and they can basically choose which one they want to buy based on the prices that are set. So the user evaluates it based on their own criteria and chooses the aggregator that provides them with the best value. So key point, if you're going to remember anything from this presentation, it's essentially that the user requests a score from the aggregator. The user can choose to use a different aggregator. So the ability to choose which reputation that you want, and the ability to openly have this weighted scores evaluated by like how much worth it is, worth value it provides. So some key points. Anybody can be an analyst or an aggregator, or they can aggregate or analyze for any purpose. So another key point, more demand equals more competition equals more accurate information. So things like, for example, ice cream, right, that might not be as demanded as something like uncollateralized loans. So things that would provide more value to the end user would be more in demand, which would lead to more people coming in and providing that data. And then aggregators are the ones directly punished because they don't receive the income if they misrepresent data. Because if they misrepresent data, they won't be used. So some qualities of the reputation economy. First is that KYC is optional. So you don't need to reveal yourself, you don't need to reveal your identity, you don't need to say like, I'm this and that person. A third-party institution doesn't have to attest that you're the person that you say you are. Your address says who you are. You owning the keys that you have to sign the data attests that you are that person. It's very accurate results because of competition. So people are competing against each other to provide the highest value. And then anybody can participate as the blockchain acts as a single source of truth. So essentially, all of the data is on-chain, so it can be easily analyzed as well as audited. So essentially, if someone misrepresents the data, if someone comes in and collects like external data and says like, oh, this is evaluated, they have to provide it on top of whatever that they provide from the on-chain data. And so essentially, this makes it more transparent, open, and competitive, essentially. So people can actually know where the results come from. And finally, data is being collected currently. So every single transaction that's ever happened is essentially tracked within the system. So anything can be analyzed from the beginning of the creation of any type of blockchain to how it is right now. There are cons to the system. So first, interactions need to be on-chain. So in order for it to be transparent, in order for it to be verifiable, and in order for it to be immutable, this needs to be on-chain. Through the help of oracles, for example, you can bring this data on-chain that wasn't originally on-chain. So essentially making it a single source of truth for a lot of the data verifiability and accountability. You, of course, need established infrastructure as well. So for example, social recovery is an important part. So social recovery is basically like a mechanism that you can use that would basically, let's say you lose your private keys for whatever reason, you can actually recover your own personal identity through these means. So one, for example, like every interaction that I share with a user, each person has like a part of me that I can like contact, reach out and say, hey, make me whole again because I lost my keys. So I contact each individual person and then they like attest that, yes, this is the person that I want to recreate the keys for. Currently, there's no mechanism that exists for this. So if a person loses their keys, that's it. They lose their entire identity, reputation, and that's pretty bad. But that's one of the infrastructure that probably needs to occur before this happens. Next, you need to find reputational analysts and aggregators. So you need to have an established infrastructure as well. And finally, supporting applications. So this is chicken and egg. So you need applications that support it, but you also need like demand for it. So where that's going to come from is entirely up to the system itself. But it is definitely something that is happening currently with sold-on tokens. The idea of reputation, the idea of on-chain credentials. You need a way to analyze it in a way that doesn't hold accountability to a single entity. So there's definitely going to be some type of system relevant to this type of evaluation criteria. So one single institution can't essentially pick a single score for everyone. So let's take a look at some examples, what the reputation economy will enable. So we saw ice cream, of course, that's use case, but of course, loans, jobs, insurance, on-chain governance, or any type of dispute resolution, and essentially creating a more trust-based economy that is tailored to the individual and tailored to the decentralized economy. So thank you. My name is Pavel, and yeah, thanks.